Hey man, what are you watching there? Oh, it's just Naruto. Haven't you already seen Naruto twice though? Yeah, but I've literally watched everything else. I don't have anything left to watch. Oh, you want some recommendations? Have you seen Re:Zero? The new season airing right now is really good. Is that an isekai? I've heard they're ass. I only watch battle shonen. I stay away from romance anime, slice of life anime, mecha anime, comedy anime, sports anime, and any anime with a female main character as well. This is the unfortunate reality for a lot of anime fans. Rather than deviating from what they know and enjoy, they stick almost exclusively to the same genres and types of shows. As a result, they narrow their horizons and completely ignore a huge portion of what anime has to offer. And while some of you might think there's nothing wrong with that, others are probably wondering the same thing as I am. Why do people do this? To make things clear, I am not talking about those of us who have preferences and therefore stay away from certain anime. If you don't like horror, nobody is forcing you to watch Shiki. Or, if you don't like fan service, then nobody is forcing you to watch anime at all. Unfortunately, it's pretty hard to avoid in the medium. On top of this, I'm not calling anyone who only watches shonen a fake anime fan. Personally, I don't like applying this label to anyone, as it makes it seem as if there are conditions to be met to enjoy a show. If you want to call yourself an anime fan after only watching Boku no Pico, you can go ahead. While I will report you to the authorities, you can hold your head high that you are no tourist. What I am saying, however, is that many anime fans stick to similar types of anime that they feel they like and consider acceptable to watch. What doesn't help is that there are those in the anime community who feel they are superior to others purely because they've been watching longer or have watched more shows. This stops people from wanting to broaden out, as there is no one encouraging them to do so. For that reason, I feel it is important to explain why these anime fans restrict themselves to certain types of anime in the first place, and more importantly, what they might be missing out on by doing so. You can find a lot of reasons that people do this. Some of them I still do myself, which shows that they are not inherently wrong, such as refusing to watch a show because it is unfinished. While many of you may say that you can still enjoy a show even if it never gets another season, there is nothing wrong with this reasoning. With that being made clear, the first thing we will discuss is relatability. Inevitably, we wish to watch a show where we can see ourselves in the protagonist's shoes, making similar decisions and having similar motivations. I mean, that's why we all love power fantasies where the main character saves the day and everything falls in love with him. He's just like me for real, we all say. As a result of this mindset, many anime fans will see a female main character and assume this is a show for women. My intention is not to call people sexist for only watching male main characters. Sometimes, it's just easier to relate to a story where the protagonist goes through similar experiences to you. How could you relate to some cute anime girl? Unless, of course... Anyways, this mindset can actually be a problem if taken too far. Immediately assuming you can't relate to a female main character and therefore choosing not to watch a show can cause you to miss out on a lot of great stories. On top of this, do we really need to relate to a protagonist, or can we just understand and empathize with them? The Apothecary Diaries anime was well received not because people could relate to a young girl in ancient China who sometimes poisons herself for fun. Rather, her personality, her actions, her humour, her curiosity, and importantly, the way she tackled the problems she faced with intelligence and unique solutions is what caused people to love the show. In fact, I would go as far as to say what makes the Apothecary Diaries so good is Mao Mao herself. Trying to relate to a character is all well and good, but let's be real, none of us watched Bleach because we are like Ichigo. We all, yes, you and me both, would have instantly folded when Rangiku made us such an offer. Instead, we enjoy these stories because you don't need to have actually experienced what Ichigo has gone through, although sometimes we wish we did. The stigma behind shows being for men or for women doesn't just stop there. This leads into my second reason. It is common for anime fans to ignore certain genres of anime as they feel as if they may be for women only. I'm sure the same can be true the other way around, and if anybody wants to share their side in the comments, I'm sure that would provide more insight. However, as a man, I will only cover the male side of things. Personally, I remember a time when this reason affected me, albeit very early on in my anime journey. The idea that watching romance anime is feminine or that shows with an all-girl cast like Yuru Camp are for women only stems from the general fear that people have of being perceived as weird. Within the anime community, nobody would bat an eye if you said you watched all 1,000 plus episodes of One Piece, but the moment you mention you watched a single episode of K-On!, they would look at you like you're crazy. Internally, we all know it shouldn't matter that much, as a lot of romance anime are even directed towards a male audience. Sticking to battle shonen is the safe option. Although, there was a time when the My Hero Academia fandom would have disproved this. Once again, if you aren't into these kinds of anime, no one is forcing you to watch them. Refusing to watch them because you associate them as feminine, however, is simply restricting you from experiencing some great stories. I remember how I broke past this barrier for the first time when I watched and liked Toradora. Although, if I held this opinion now, I fear I would be burned at the stake. Moving past this, you realize that regardless of the demographic of these shows, whether it's shoujo or shonen, they can still be enjoyed by anyone. At their core, they tackle issues, relationships, and characters in ways that aren't exclusive to one gender. This is not the only reason, however, why people ignore the romance genre. In fact, my third point is that many people refuse to watch slice-of-life anime and romance anime because they feel as if they can experience the same in reality. Where's the fun in watching some regular-ass dude go to school, study for a test, and then go home for the day? Unless you're one of those people who see Japan through rose-tinted glasses, it just seems like a boring, everyday life. The thing is though, anime does not always have to be some escape from reality. Sometimes, you can find comfort in these shows, or maybe be engaged by how these fictional characters interact. They might not be real, and you might even know that two characters are obviously going to end up together. But what interests people is how they reach that destination. While avoiding slice-of-life anime because they seem boring might make logical sense, nothing is more interesting than trying to figure out how the protagonist caught a cold when the rain only slightly grazed their arm. If you can experience this in reality, then you have an easy way to get out of work. While things like festival arcs or school plays can seem uninteresting on the outside, before you know it, you're suddenly at the edge of your seat waiting for the female lead's sandal to break so the protagonist can give her a piggyback. The genre's ability to make everyday events so engaging is why people should stop missing out. Sometimes, however, you don't just ignore genres of anime because you think they're bad. The final reason on this list is that you avoid an anime or even an entire genre because you've heard others say that it was bad. Look, I'm not telling you to go watch an anime like Yusuga no Sora to confirm that it's bad. Praise to the people that did, because it certainly wasn't me. What I am saying is that sometimes the anime community can be very reactionary. Was Sword Art Online really the worst anime of all time, like people used to say? No. But once a few said it, that opinion began to spread, giving the show a bad rep that was hard to shake. Although, to be fair, it did make some questionable decisions. The same is true today. Many people avoid isekai anime because they heard it's full of slop, but generalizing an entire genre based on a few bad examples when there are many that can be deemed as great should not be your reason to avoid them. Unfortunately, the community will always be reactionary, and while nobody is saying to disregard common opinion, treating it as the gospel is not good either. So rather than simply following the majority, sometimes it's better to watch something for yourself and form your own opinion. When you start watching anime for yourself, rather than following these made-up regulations, you begin to realize just how much you've been missing. People can view anime as a long-running story where we follow the journey of a character as they battle their way to the top. And that is true. But anime is also about a character finding where they belong in the world. Anime is about someone who is pursuing a dream that may seem impossible to accomplish. Anime is also about someone who is just living their average life just like us through the screen. While it can be a flashy medium that gets us on the edge of our seats, wondering if the protagonist can win this fight and survive, it can also be a relaxing story, or even a funny one. Sure, you might already know this going in, but the more anime you watch, the more your horizons expand. And you learn that anime isn't just shonen, but simply just a medium. A medium which is used to display whatever the author wishes. You can be subjected to watching some of the weirdest things that you've ever laid your eyes on, and best believe your parents will walk in on you at this exact moment. But you can also stumble upon something great. Although it's likely it will also have some of the weirdest things you've ever laid your eyes on. Honestly, what is going on in Japan? The point is, you can watch anime within the bubble you've created and declare something as the best thing you've ever watched just because everyone else says it is. But there is also something to gain by removing those restrictions and viewing something for yourself. And that is not the ability to not care what other people think. You will certainly get funny looks from me if you say you liked Ero Manga Sensei. Instead, you might find that anime has so much more to offer than you initially thought. Honestly, isn't that much more interesting than going in for your third Naruto rewatch, or glazing Attack on Titan for the 100th time, as according to you, there is no anime that can reach its standards? So yeah, maybe give an anime or genre a chance that is outside your comfort zone. If you love it, great. If you don't, please don't blame me. I warned you about some of the horrors I witnessed. Even then, at least you can say that you formed your own opinion. Anyway, let me know in the comments what genre did you refuse to watch and what anime finally changed your mind. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. It would be much appreciated.